Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I'm really delighted about today's guest, James Mills, and he is going to talk to us all about from startup to scale up. And he coaches finance pros to building thriving businesses with AI tools. I'm really happy to have him on and add value to the show from Ohio. And James, welcome.
No, I appreciate that, Chris.
Yeah.
Looking forward to a nice conversation. I'm a fan of the show, and as we, in preparation of us chatting today, of course, we were talking a little bit. And again, the fact that I talk to financial professionals, that I am a financial professional myself, and I'm scaling my business, but also coaching others. I'm like, oh, this is a match made in heaven. So looking forward to a great conversation today for sure.
Yeah. And briefly introduce yourself because you do a lot of work with Ironvest financial partners, and we're going to talk about sales, business growth strategy, insurance. So, how did you get started?
Yeah, so I started out as a licensed banker at PNC, and I made my way into wholesale, which is, if you're not in the industry, of course, for those listeners who aren't financial advisors, essentially I would work with financial professionals and say, hey, sell my insurance or sell my annuity or sell my investment. And I was at a conference not too long ago, and someone even mentioned that wholesalers are the people who like to provide free value. And so that's all I've done for the bulk of my career. And then I transitioned out of wholesale. So I did that at two different companies, mainly selling annuities. And I went into the IMO space, independent marketing organization space. So now I work again with financial professionals and coach them how to sell financial stuff. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because it's so vast reaching, where it's like you have conversations about business development, you might have conversations around product, you might coach them on how to be a better salesperson, and it's everything in between, to the point where my wife asks me what I do day in and day out. And I'm like, I drink, I talk to people, and usually there's finance involved somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, quite interesting. And later on in the show, we're going to get into AI and fintech and how that's affecting the banking. It's really interesting what the recent developments are. So, clients that come to work with you, what are they trying to achieve? What are they struggling with or sick and tired of? What do they come to you for help with?
Yeah, so there's two things, right? My target demographic, one, about 80% of the time is financial professionals. So we're talking like RIAs and insurance agents and broker dealer agents. Again, financial jargon for just financial professionals. And so usually when they come to me or I come to them, the conversation is really, how can I help you grow or scale your practice? If it's product related, if it's advanced sales technique, if it's one thing that I'm very passionate, as you mentioned, is the tech platforms. And so we talk so much about how people can implement technology. And that's, again, about 80% of the time that we're coaching people on those. But 20% of the time, I'm acting as my own financial advisor, where I'm running my own book of business. And what's interesting is, I mean, my niches in the financial advising world is the teachers, but also small business owners. And everything I'm practicing over here with the financial professional, saying, hey, let me coach you, and here are the conversations you need to be having with your clients. I'm doing it on my own 20% of the time. And so it's a neat little dichotomy. But again, our main focus is, how can I help others scale their practices. And so that's the bulk of the industry that we're in.
Interesting. Really fascinating. And you mentioned this area of AI and fintech. And what's really interesting is I think banking and healthcare and education are the three last kind of industries to just get obliterated with technology. And they've really been resilient against because of like rules and regulation and bureaucracy. In banking particular, I remember there's no bank tellers anymore. It's like all ATM. And now with AI, for example, cars, you're starting to see driverless cars and Uber, DoorDash, these kind of jobs are going away. So how are you thinking about AI, and especially with banking, it's getting rid of a lot of middlemen and a lot of waste? How do you coach people around the staying relevant?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a great question. So there's a couple parts we can analyze that, right? It is funny that when I go into banks now, which again, nowadays I'm not spending as much time in banks, it's more independent people. But in terms of going to PNC Bank, and not to be an advertisement for them, of course, but the fact that that you'll go in and you'll try to make a deposit and they're like, hey, actually, I got to refer you over to the ATM. And they're like, all right, we're a cashless branch. And you're like, I don't know what that means yet. But you have a very valid point where finance, banking, insurance, all of these, the fintech space, right? There's so many compliance and regulations that we have to jump through in order to not only adopt AI, but in the disclosures and then the messaging to the clients and everything we can say. And first and foremost, the conversation around AI needs to be compliance focused and focus on, hey, we're acting as fiduciaries, we're doing what's right for the client, we're making sure that they're compliant. But I'm not only writing a book, we have a playbook at Ironvest of adopting AI, but I'm also writing a book on how financial advisors can grow their practice, not only with leveraging technology, but just how to scale their practice a little bit more. And a little further, I'm doing a keynote for the conference Medicarians, which is a Medicare insurance conference coming up in April next year in Vegas. And that's exactly what the conversation is. It's about how can you leverage AI without losing the human touch. And really, it goes back to the fact of this is a tool, and the tool is only as good as the carpenter. And if you're leveraging, let's say, something for email outreach and messaging, right? Like if you're leveraging an AI tool for that, all right, what parameters are you trying to put in there, and how can you make sure that's authentic to your voice, right? Or CRM and intelligence. Like again, you have to somewhat know what you're looking for and analyze the data. And if whatever the CRM AI, the contact management system, whatever AI you're developing in there, you have to recognize like, all right, here's my sales pipeline and here's how you do this and here's what I should be looking for. And then there's so many different models and technologies that you could develop that help with the marketing and the sales side and analyzing data, and it's all just a matter of what are you trying to use it for. And so for us in particular, a couple of the areas that we're really focused on is one, mass email functionality to get in front of as many people as we can, but two, when it comes to the actual advisors that we work with and how they interact with their clients, we have some nice AI tools like Vanilla is an estate planning software where you can actually come in and you can create wills and trusts and POAs and healthcare directives for your clients. And
Mhm.
as an advisor, you can charge your clients fees on that, but it isolates that conversation where you don't need to have an attorney come out and it's all compliance approved. Secondarily, we use Waterlily, which is a great thing for long term care, and it can forecast life expectancies and tell you, hey, Chris, you will probably need long term care when you're 82, and here's how much that's going to cost. And here's us forecasting out what solutions you might want to look at. And even further, you have a bunch of technologies that you can implement where it's like, hey, here's this tool called Income Lab, which will
Mhm.
tell you based on your portfolio and your assets and all the investments that you have, how you're going to live in retirement and how much you can expect, what your taxes will be. You can incorporate like the inflation aspect to it all. And even outside of that sales conversation, okay, here are the different tools that you will want to leverage as a sales professional just in general. As you get into the more granular side of the financial industry, there's a ton of AI tools that you can implement that will help you have better conversations with your clients, which will lead to a bigger impact that you and your company is going to be doing.
Hmm. Interesting. The next question I have for you is, yeah, because I haven't stepped into a bank in over since 2007, 2008, and everything is now you can send people money on your cell phone. You don't really need a bank to do that. Talk about, you mentioned a lot of the AI tools that you're using. What does this area of just with, and what do you see the future of just example like insurance, or is that gonna go away, or what do you see potential areas of growth?
In insurance in general, or just the investment industry?
Insurance and then investments.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you've seen, and this is not a knock at all on some of the insurance particular companies, and I do a lot of business with them, and this isn't a knock on the broker dealer advisors or like the different segments of the financial industry that we could talk about. What you are finding is that people are moving away from product specific conversations and more into a holistic financial plan, right? And so what I
Mhm.
mean by that is let's say I go to New York Life or Northwestern Mutual and I talk to one of their agents, right? That agent typically gets commission based on the sell of that life insurance, right? And that's great. And they've New York Life, Northwestern Mutual, they do a great job of trying to uncover, all right, here's why you would need life insurance, and there's a bunch of conversations around that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone needs the life insurance, right? Or everyone needs this particular investment. And there's other types of advisors out there who they get compensated based on the sell of a product, not necessarily based on the plan itself. And so, what I find very interesting is you've seen this rise within. There's always been this idea of an investment, the RIA, the investment advisors. There's always been that idea of okay, they'll charge a fee on your asset, and then from that standpoint, they're not getting comped when they sell a life insurance, or they might not get comped when they sell a mutual fund or anything like that. Their main take is on the advice, not based on the sale of a product. And really, as of late, you are seeing a lot more advisors shifting over to that mindset of, hey, instead of me selling a product, let's do this on all of your assets. And that way you're uncovering not a conversation where it's like, hey, Chris, you need this, right? It's more of a conversation of, hey, let's learn more about your lifestyle and your objectives and what are you trying to do. And from there, you can uncover and say, all right, well, here are the 6 recommendations that you should probably be doing in order to be successful in the way you want to be successful in retirement. And so I think we're moving away from that product pushy conversation and more into something where it's like, hey, I'm actively trying to be better and help you with your holistic plan. And I think clients overall are asking for that same mentality. Nobody wants to be sold. And that I know for me, when I get a door to door salesman come in and he's like, "Hey, I want to sell you this bug repellent," and I'm like, "Dude, get out of my face!" Like, if he were to come and be like, "Hey, here are these types of bugs, and this is," if he led with the value, right? If he led with value and said, "Hey, do you see that patch of grass that's dead over there? It's because you have this particular beetle that I can fix." I would be more prone to listening. And that's some of the knowledge and insight that I like to coach people on. It's just, hey, lead with value, and there's a million ways you can lead with value. So
Hmm.
that's my long winded way of answering that.
Yeah. How can people get in touch with you and learn more about you, follow your social media, etc.?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, James Mills, MBA, CRPC. I'm trying to get more letters behind my name than there actually are in my name. But we have our website, so ironvestfinancial.com. Definitely check us out, and we'd love to be able to help you guys scale your practice. And however you want to get in touch with us, always happy to help wherever we can.
Excellent. All right. Thanks so much and keep up the great work.
Okay, likewise. I appreciate you, Chris.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, man.